I'm here to call the Cultural Council to order. If you all could just join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're just going to do a quick roll call here. Savannah Carlson.
Here.
Rocky Graziano.
Here.
Lonnie Stevens. I'm here. So, a couple of the items for our agenda tonight. We're going to introduce some new members that are here. We'll review our budget for this fiscal year. We're going to discuss some goals and priorities that have already been inputted into the Mass Cultural Council website. We'll review some pending proposals, discuss some new ideas, and then move forward with the October meeting, with our pending October meeting. So our new members, Savannah Carlson is one of them.
Hi, I am Savannah Carlson, and I am an arts enthusiast as well as a great background in the arts. I currently run a Shakespeare company out in Concord, Massachusetts, and I'm very passionate about serving arts and education to the underprivileged.
Thanks, Savannah. And Rocky Graziano.
My name is Rocky Graziano. I was recently elected to be part of the council. I'm very excited as a lifelong Greater Suffolk County resident, East Boston, Revere, Winthrop, Revere now. I have been really passionate about bringing arts and programming to people from the community that I grew up in. I was a Shakespeare actor, so we have to talk about that. My claim to fame was being in a show with Pedro Pascal, but we'll get over that later. By day, I work as the head of learning and development for a tech company. I am also a very active board member for the Miss Massachusetts Scholarship Foundation. And when I'm not busy doing that, I'm doing production for drag brunches and I'm hosting trivia around the world. So this is it. This is me.
Thank you guys so much. We're just going to do a quick review of the budget for this year. So for this fiscal year, we were allocated $42,800. This is a slightly smaller amount than we have gotten in the past year, or the past few years, but it's still a lot to work with. Do you guys have anything to add to that?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
And then for the goals and priorities, none of them have changed. I'm just going to take a moment to read all of them. Priorities will be given to proposals from Revere residents, proposals that benefit underserved populations and lesser heard groups, that involve Revere youth, including at-risk youth, that are regarding local history and serve our local community, promote local environmental issues, involve new art forms or humanities programs that would be beneficial to the community and are also from new applicants. Just to add to that too, I do want to just say that this year we will be prioritizing new applicants and also new projects or future projects rather than events that have already happened.
For a clarification, Lady, when we say prioritizing new projects, we're prioritizing ones that are accepted, correct? So if somebody has applied in the past that hasn't gotten it but gets it now, would we consider that new?
Yes.
Okay.
In the past, we've allowed applicants to submit receipts for reimbursement from past cultural events, and we've paid them out. But as Lainey said, we're going to prioritize new events.
And some guidelines that we have, our applicants must live in Revere or be sponsored by an organization in Revere. Projects must be completed in Revere. They must be about Revere or benefit Revere residents. Applicants must document how the grant funds will be used. The application must include a project timeline as well as a detailed budget. If equipment or capital improvements are part of a grant proposal, the grant must demonstrate a cultural purpose, be for a one-time or special need that should be clearly justified by some longer-term public benefit. Just to talk a little bit more about that, I think last year we had somebody that was doing like sewing classes, and they were keeping those sewing machines for a longer period of time. So that would be an example of having that equipment. Applicants should be aware that our council makes reimbursement grants, and they will not have the funding immediately after being approved. This should be considered when planning the project timeline. Projects must be completed within one funding cycle unless a demonstrated need is presented to the council for a one-year extension. All programs must be held in locations that are accessible to those with disabilities. Funding of grants is contingent on both availability of sufficient funds and relative to the benefit of the community. Field trip applications must include a statement that the project is not already fully funded by the school. Funds must not be used to substitute or replace existing publicly funded programs. Funds are not to be used as the sole means of support for programs of a continuing nature. Applicants may not be discriminated against the basis of, including but not limited to, say, race, sex, religion, creed, color, national origin, disability, or age. All advertisements, brochures must include a statement that the activity and program is supported by a grant from the Revere Cultural Council, a local agency which is supported by the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and an inability to fulfill guidelines may result in disapproval. Is there anything that you guys want to add to the priorities? Maybe for
Can
next
we
year?
just clarify what the funding cycle is and the terms of that? Whether it's a calendar year cycle or if they do have 18 months?
So from my understanding, there are 18 months where the fiscal year normally ends. So this fiscal year ended June of 2024. It opens in September, the application. And then I think that they have the full calendar year from when we decide, which is around January. So they should have it done by December. I think it is the full 18 months though, when we take into consideration that that the fiscal year starts in June.
Okay.
Yeah, good
Thank you.
question. All right, and then just some pending proposals. So we just have our Excel spreadsheet up, a couple proposals that we're still waiting to hear back from. So in total, this past fiscal year, we had 26 applicants. Currently there's about 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about 10 that have either not been completed or we haven't received full paperwork from.
And what is the process for reaching out to those individuals that owe us paperwork?
So we have actually reached out to a lot of those applicants that have not completed their projects yet. We reached out back in the June, July timeline. Because the fiscal year ended in June, I think that a lot of people were kind of in the swing of things. There's a couple grants on here, or applicants on here, that I know are completing their projects in the fall, which makes total sense. A couple people have reached out to us and let us know that they still needed to get some form of paperwork to us, whether that was invoices, whether that was their W-9 form, or whether that was just assistance completing the reimbursement form paper. We will follow up with those 10 or so applicants that we need to. And if you do need an extension, feel free to reach out to us.
Based on what we have proposed, we'll stay in budget, correct?
Yes, so we'll definitely stay in budget. I'm not sure. So the way that the projects that, all of these projects on this spreadsheet, these are ones that we've already accepted and that we already have the funds for. If they don't complete their project for whatever reason, we'll still be in budget. If they do complete the project, that won't impact us at all, yeah.
Thank you.
And when the Mass Cultural Council of the state lets us know what we're allocated to hand out, we go down to the pennies
Right.
to allocate all the money out.
So in years past, what ends up happening is if any of these projects aren't completed, this money will go into our encumbered funds, and then we can redistribute that money into the pot for future years. And then there were a couple do you guys have any other questions I should ask? No.
Nope, thank you.
There were a couple new ideas that I'm gonna pass this over to Rocky. I know that he wanted to speak a little bit more about this. One of them was Miss Revere Beach.
So full disclosure, I am a board member of the Miss Massachusetts Scholarship Foundation, which there would be two avenues here that we could go in. If Miss Revere Beach were to be a preliminary to Miss Massachusetts, I would obviously need to abstain to be ethical. Give a quick little background. Miss America is the oldest, I think we all know what it is, the oldest scholarship program for women in the United States. It's actually the largest private giver of scholarships to women in the world, both in kind and scholarships. So if we were to hold a Miss Revere Beach, which there has been history in the past, going back to the 20s, I have paperwork that I've collected that shows when they actually crowned Miss Boston on Revere Beach, if you all want to look at that, right back in the day, when seeing someone in a swimsuit was a little racier than it is today. But we all know that Revere Beach has been around for someone keep me honest here, 28 years technically, I think, or 27 years. It's been around for a while. And having a Miss Revere Beach would be twofold. One, we could provide a scholarship, which would allow a young woman who wins to advance her education by allowing them to perform or requiring them to perform some sort of talent that would also fall in line with some of the cultural aspects that we're willing to promote. And the other piece of it that I think could be really valuable, and I'm speaking from my experience as being someone that's been involved with Miss Massachusetts or a pageant of that nature for the last 15 years, that will provide us with a young woman who could do appearances and be part of the community and better whatever it is that she wants to bring to the city. It doesn't have to be affiliated with Miss Massachusetts. If it's not, and we just do it on our own, which is perfectly something that we could do. I'm confident in this team. I think that could be a benefit to, one, visibility, right? A young woman from the community who has to live in Revere or work in Revere, whatever it is, will be able to promote the city. Would be nice to have someone as a extra set of hands to volunteer at some of the events that we have coming up. So that's there has been precedent for it being done on the beach in the past. I was thinking if we were to do it, we do it maybe around Sand Sculpture Festival, because then we have her the whole weekend, to do that. And I think one of the things that everyone could probably agree to is that the last 2 years or so, the number of events that are happening along the beach has grown exponentially, from the Winter Festival to the Pride Festival that I've gone to the last couple of years. There was an Arts and Culture Festival last week. There's been a farmer's market. So we definitely could get some good visibility for a young lady within the city. I keep on saying organization, because I have to switch my mindset around that, who would be able to be part, and then, could get, I don't know what we would budget for that, get a nice chunk of money that would go towards her college education or student loans.
I wonder if that's something that we can speak to our representative about for scholarship, if any of our encumbered funds could be rolled into a scholarship fund. Maybe that's something that we can ask, if that's what we can do.
So as I'm thinking about it, I think that the way that it partially could be funded, I don't know if it could fully be funded by it, depending on how much we have in the account. It would be, I think that we can set aside funds as a council for a project that we sponsor ourselves. So that would be something in that nature. My guess is that it would be around $8,000. Yeah, but don't quote me on that number.
Which is much more than, and I would say an average local competition in Massachusetts, which is what goes to Miss Massachusetts, the average is probably $1,000 that the winner gets. So I think that that's much more. So if we had more, that means we could give a bigger chunk, and then the runners-up and other people that participate could also receive money. But I don't think it would cost us that much money to put on. usually you can, no, you figure it out, you find donations. I'm sure we can get the high school for free, if we ask nicely. Or if we did it outside, you know, did it like sort of at the bandstand or during some of the festivities, I think we would already have set up for that. So I don't think the upfront cost to do it would be that expensive.
I don't know if either of you would want to touch on any of these other ideas, but we also had the art gallery and then art programming. I think what the art gallery was about was possibly like showing off some of the other projects that have been completed, just to show off, and then give other people in the community ideas of what people have used their funds for.
Yes, as well as work with, I think it's Ward 1, what ward's Beachmont?
It's near me, yeah, it's Ward 1.
Ward 1 with their new arts center that they're building in the old fire station. It would be great if there could be collaboration between us and that new center where we could bring in local artists and have a Revere arts-focused gallery. And then when it comes to arts programming, the council is really interested in becoming more involved in what the city is offering in terms of cultural programming. I know this weekend there was a whole cultural festival, and we would love to have more involvement with that next year and potentially get on the arts calendar, the cultural calendar, or the City of Revere's calendar, so we can have more of collaboration.
Well, I think we could solve that pretty quickly, right? By just asking to be copied on some of these special events that the mayor has. And then also offering our services as I know there are 3 of us here, but 5 extra sets of hands that could be present at those things. And I think it's important to say, because everyone has busy lives and schedules, that it doesn't have to be all of us all the time, but we
Right.
could look at the calendar and say, oh, okay, Rocky, you're gonna do this event, Savannah, you're gonna do this event. And by spreading it out, it helps us be part of the community a little bit more. We always need more volunteers, I'm sure, and it also helps us maybe solicit or encourage people that we meet to sign up and apply for a grant so that we can start to focus some of the work that they're doing. And these events seem to be very well attended. I mean, I walk the beach quite a bit and I see that people are getting out there. I don't know if it's just people from Revere, but they seem to want to go and attend these, so we might as well take advantage of it.
The last order of business that I think that we have are the ideas pending for the October meeting. I think that originally we have it scheduled for October 3rd. And I think that the reason for that was because our financial report is due on the 16th. If you are watching and you happen to be applying for a grant, let me just double check on the date. But the applications will be due sometime in the next couple of weeks. I just want to see if I can see that date on here right now. I will get back to that. But I do think that we have to move that October 3rd meeting that is currently on the calendar just to accommodate all of our members and hold quorum. So please be on the lookout for that if you are looking at our calendar.
Are we going to open forum after this?
October 17th is the deadline for people to have their applications in. Okay, thank you. I think we can go ahead and move to open forum. Yeah. So.
I just wanted to have an open conversation about the way in which our applicants are, in which they receive their funding. Currently, we are reimbursement-based, meaning that approved applications, they do fund their events up front, and then they submit receipts into the council and the city, and they get reimbursed up to whatever they were approved for. There is an option for a direct deposit where, once approved, the funds are directly given to the applicant, so then they can be more proactive in making sure that their event is launched within the community. So I would love to have a discussion about pros and cons of that, and potentially motion to do a direct deposit.
So I think that we can do that starting next year. Because the guidelines and the priorities were already submitted, I think we would have to wait until the year after, unfortunately, if we were to implement any changes, but I would still be willing to have that conversation.
I think, the points that would be valid in terms of doing this is that not everyone has the money up front to put on an event. And looking at our spreadsheet of some of the suggested budgets, these are in the thousands of dollars. Like, obviously, $500 and $1,000 is probably attainable, but some of the proposals we have here are much more than that.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you all, but I think there are a lot of people out there that probably don't have $7,800 that they could just throw at something and then expect to be reimbursed. So having maybe some guidelines around maybe a dollar amount. If it's in excess of this is what the process is, and just flushing out, what the responsibilities are. So if they go under budget, what happens with the money? I think that those are sort of items, unless there's already something with other groups that is in place, that we should consider.
I don't think that it can be like, if it's under a certain amount, we do direct, if it's under a certain, or over a certain amount, we can do reimbursement or vice versa. It's just all in one, yeah.
Well, either way, I think if people take the effort to want to do something in the community,
Yeah.
I think that we have to trust that their intentions are good and that they're going to use the money for the right causes.
And I mean, that will require the council to do an audit and make sure that these events are happening and following up. But I would ask then the applicants to share as much information when their event's going to be launched, whether it's on social, with newsletters, something that we can even share on our cultural council social pages. That would be great and a good way for us to cross-check that things are getting done.
Yeah, I think that it makes the whole process too, on the city's side, a little bit easier to have direct grants in the future. So I think that that would be good. And I think that that would also lead to a more robust application from our applicants. I think that it would kind of force them to outline their budget a little bit more, whether it's for us or whether it's just for them.
So is this something that we could motion for 2026? Is that what you're saying, 2026 applicants? Or 2025 applicants for the 2026 year?
2025 applicants for the 2026 year. Right.
Okay. I'd like to motion that the Cultural Council changes their allocations to direct deposit for the 2026 year.
I second.
I'll go ahead and third it, so approved. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the public. If there's anything that anybody wants to share, feel free to share it at this time.
Steve Morabito, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, 281 Broadway, Revere. I just want to welcome Rocky and welcome the Cultural Council back to the chambers after a long hiatus. I know you guys were meeting online after the pandemic, and you're finally coming back to live television, and I'm sure everyone's excited. So just wanted to welcome you back, and I know you guys are going to do great things.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. If that's all the orders of business, I'm going to go ahead and...
Or should I make a proposal for?
Oh,
Miss
yes,
Revere
please
Beach
do.
And more, well, not right now, but for the next meeting, I can have something that's more official?
Okay,
A
yeah,
cost breakdown and like what I think a plan would look like, just as a next step?
yeah, I think that that would be great. Also, while we're here, would you want to discuss, does October 17th work for everyone?
Just in case you all don't think we're rude, we're checking our calendars, if you're, all of our fans watching from around the world.
Yes, that's fine.
I think it works fine for me as well. I'm in, yep, it's in.
I'm also free October 17th. Savannah, are you?
Yes.
And I think that that might be a good time to meet because that's after grants are in.
So we should assume that that would be, part of that would be filtering through those?
Part of that could be filtering through those, and then the other part of it could be filtering through that idea that you had too.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Are there any other orders of business that either of you have?
Nope.
No.
I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for watching.